Okay, we're going to get started. Welcome to episode 8 of Baseball Alberta's Lunch and Learn series, the Umpire Onboarding Guide. So thank you for taking the time to learn more, and thank you for being a champion in your community for baseball. We always talk about the sport volunteer being the absolutely most important person in the Canadian sport delivery system, and we are here to support you in those endeavors. Please remember to leave feedback. You will receive a follow-up email with a Google Form survey. It's super important that you complete that and give us ideas moving forward. Today, it's all about how to become an umpire and how local associations can help support that endeavor. Special thanks to our Provincial Supervisor for Umpires, Brandon Stocki, for joining us today. Brandon was also the 2024 Baseball Alberta President's Award winner. Just added to the list of all his leadership achievements with Baseball Alberta and Baseball Canada. Brandon, thank you for being with us today.
You bet, Aaron. Thanks for having me.
Obviously, the shortage of umpires is a major issue in our sport today. It's not only an Alberta problem, but it's certainly a Canada problem. It's not only a baseball problem, it's an amateur sport issue. And collectively, we need to understand the necessity of tackling this issue together. So that's kind of about what we're going to get after today. So the structure for the Lunch and Learn, 15 to 20 minutes of content and then question and answer. Please provide your questions in the chat, and I will get to those when we are done with the content. And to respect everybody's time, we're going to keep the Lunch and Learn to the schedule. However, if you do have additional questions, you can reach out to me at any time. The session will be available also on our YouTube channel and as a podcast on Spotify. So let's get into it. Thank you, Brandon. Brandon, I'm a young person in Alberta, and I would like to become an umpire. Where do I start?
Yeah, so the first steps are going to be to attend a level 1 clinic. We host those throughout the province, typically in the months of March and April. And information on that becomes available in about December when we start taking in applications from communities and associations that want to put on and host these level 1 and 2 clinics. That information is always posted on our website once it's approved. And yeah, starting in about December, you'll start to see more clinics get posted throughout January and February. And then for whatever reason, associations seem to really want to use March and April. We're certainly seeing that some associations are starting to go into February. And this year, for the first time, we actually had our first clinic in January. Awesome. So that's the first step, is to attend one of these level 1-2 clinics that are hosted throughout the province. We had something like 50 some clinics this past year hosted throughout the province. So that would be the first step, is to find one, close to you.
Awesome. So, do I have to play baseball to attend one of these clinics to be an umpire, or do I have to have a baseball background, or where does that fall?
Yeah, for sure. We've always said that players or former players do make pretty good umpires because they have a sense of the game, but not necessary. And in fact, we're finding right now that umpires that maybe aren't players are much more usable throughout the season because their availability is better. But certainly, if you don't have a background in the game of baseball, you're still more than welcome. And in fact, the clinic, the level 1 clinic specifically, is really based upon teaching the bare basics of the game and giving the tools necessary to umpire your first game. So it's a very basic level clinic that certainly, if you've never played the game or been involved with the game, it kind of suits to or caters to that group as well.
Awesome. Why should I start umpiring? Why did you start? Why should I start umpiring? What does the money look like? Those types of things.
Yeah. So I would say, 9 out of 10 clinic attendees, it's all about the money. Especially, we have typically a lot of young umpires, and it's a summer job. For me, it was either that or I had to get a job at McDonald's. Was what my parents said. So that's definitely the number one reason that most of our umpires get involved. When we talk about the adult kind of range of clinic attendees, they're trying to stay in the game some way. Maybe they played it, or maybe they coached it, and they're a little older, and they still want to find a way to give back to the game of baseball. And so that's their reason for being an umpire and attending one of these clinics. You asked about the money. Different associations do different things. Baseball Alberta has set kind of our guidelines for Baseball Alberta games. And currently we're kind of ranging anywhere from the $45 to $75 range right now, depending, of course, on level and things like that. But certainly different associations do different things for their local games. But Baseball Alberta kind of has a range right now of games between $45 and $75 per game.
So that's a per game base. Okay, great. You know, so $45, $75 per game. Like, what does the time commitment look like given any day or week? Like, am I committed to a certain amount of time to do this, or how does that work?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think, depending on how active you want to be in umpiring, we have games probably throughout the entire week. If you wanted to umpire every single night of the week, between your local association community plus Baseball Alberta games, you probably could find yourself a game to umpire. In terms of time commitment throughout a night, we typically ask our umpires to be there at minimum 30 minutes ahead of time. And then, that usually after the game, you want to spend a few minutes maybe debriefing with your partner about the game. Was there any interesting rule stuff that came up? What did you think about that play? Did we get that right? And so, yeah, there's a little bit of a post-game commitment. Game times, really fluctuate depending on the game that the level that you're working. But let's call it 2 hours and a bit, maybe each night for the actual game length. And then, like I said, half an hour on the front side and maybe a few minutes after. So,
yeah. Great. So other than the money, staying involved in baseball, where can I go with umpiring? Where can this role take me?
Yeah, it's funny. So I was a player my whole life growing up, and got to attend one national championship at the later end of my career. As an umpire, I've been to 7 national championships.
Cool.
Certainly there's a road in terms of, traveling the province, I'm talking about a little bit more grassroots level. I've been from one end to the other to umpire, from the, in the country. I've gone from coast to coast to umpire. And certainly Alberta has a rich history of umpires getting opportunities to travel internationally for international assignments as well. So for me, I think it's that the ability to kind of explore and baseball, playing the game was really important to me. And I appreciated all those moments that I had as a player. But certainly the scope got bigger for me as an umpire. And more opportunities were provided in terms of traveling and getting to experience new things and meet new people from across the province and the country as well. So
awesome. Well, I mean, that sounds all really great. Why would I not want to be an umpire? So we'll have to talk about the upsetting part of being an umpire. I grew up as an umpire, and let's talk about it. The coaches and parents at the field on any given night can get a little excited. Some people call it passion, but it can be really uncomfortable for an umpire trying to hone their skills and develop. And sometimes parents and coaches don't allow that leeway for young umpires to develop appropriately and make mistakes. So can we talk a little bit about what protections are there in place while I learn my craft of umpiring, and what Baseball Alberta and the umpires have done to protect some of those people trying to learn their craft?
Yeah, I think that's a really excellent point, Aaron, and an issue that stems not only just in baseball. We know that that's a sport issue, but you use the perfect word, like allowing development opportunities to happen. That's a key piece, and I'm so thankful to many coaches out there that I umpired a lot when I was first getting into it. That truly allowed me to work and just develop, and never got on me to the point where I wanted to quit after. So I'm very thankful for those coaches that are out there that do take, that allow umpires to work. So unfortunately, like you said, not all coaches are like that. Not all fans, are giving umpires that leeway. And so we've decided as Baseball Alberta and Baseball Alberta Umpire Committee to put some protections, as you said, in place to make sure that the game is as enjoyable for umpires and allow them to develop. So one of those protections is that a rule that we've had for a while now, and we've continued to expand it, is that if there's an incident regarding an argument could be swearing at, things like that. But an argument between a coach and an umpire, an 11U age group, a 13U age group, and a 15U age group, that's gonna be an immediate grounds for suspension. And so that's a new rule. Like I said, we've expanded that to the 15 group. Even at 18U, we have a little bit of a protection in place as well, where we talk about, abuse. All right. So any type of abuse that may come to an umpire's plate, that's going to be dealt with as well. And so what we're trying to do there is part of the game is to allow coaches to have interactions with umpires. That's part of the game, and we still want to encourage that. If there's a question that a coach wants to have about a play or wants to ask, what did the umpire see on that, we're still allowing that interaction to happen, but we don't want arguments to happen. We don't want situations where there might be abuse involved. And so we really try to put these protections in place to still allow the game to happen as it's supposed to, where coaches are allowed to discuss plays, ask questions, they get answers, and that's where it stops. We don't want this to become an argument and a hostile situation. And so we've put some of these protections in place. That's a great word. And I think we're going to continue to see more things put in place to try to limit the amount of exposure to unnecessary and unwanted behavior from coaches.
Excellent. Thanks. Baseball Alberta board and technical committee, as well as the umpire committee, continue to find ways to protect those officials, which is important. So further to that, how do associations support the umpires? Anything you can say about, some associations are really great at recruiting and retaining their umpires. What are you seeing out there that what associations are doing really, really well? What are the successful ones doing?
That's a really good question. What we found in the last few years is this is an us problem or a we problem, meaning that it's something that the umpire side in Baseball Alberta is working on, but we also need the help of the associations. And so they're an important piece in this process of umpire development. And so when you say about what are some of the things that associations are doing well, and the ones that are successful with umpire development, I'd say that there's an active role. And so whether that's because they have a person in place, maybe an umpire director or somebody that his job is focused on, every spring, okay, let's gather 10, 12, 15 umpires for our clinic, up to 30. And we have associations that put on clinics for 45 umpires even. And so that's an active role that they're taking to try to recruit, whether that's in schools or former players or their son or daughter's buddies, that they would come to try to encourage them to come out. I think some other things that they're doing is allowing them to get games and get games throughout the week so that they're always involved in it. And then when it comes time for maybe us needing them for some Baseball Alberta games on the weekend, then they do those as well. Another thing that I think successful associations have done is using basic things, even as far as equipment. That's a huge piece to get the equipment. And so I think funding or having some sort of a rent program on equipment, no different than associations make sure that they got bats for the teams and catcher's gear and things like that. They budget for that in their association. A budget line item should be umpire gear, because that's a huge obstacle for umpires to come to the clinic. We tell them what they need, we show them what they need, and then they go, well, where do I get it? And it's, to be honest, umpire equipment's not that accessible. So if associations can help in that area, that's another area in which I think they can support the umpires. I'm just trying to think of other things that associations do. Some associations are really good at creating kind of like a bond of, they have a tournament, they're using all the umpires, they're all there together, and they're kind of creating this group that kind of comes together and goes, yeah, we're the umpires of our association. And so that's really
the umpire
important
game.
as well. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's the third team, right? It's the third team out on the.
It's important. Awesome. A lot of good points there. So if I'm an association and I want to host one of these clinics, what do I need? Do I need a classroom and a gym, or do I need an open space, or is this available online?
Yeah. So currently, right now, we're the way that we've done things, and this is probably going to evolve over the course of the next few years. I think you're going to see some real changes in maybe development pathways and certainly delivery models. But we found with COVID, where there was no choice but to do online instruction. We found that we want to see our umpires in person. We want to make sure that they're absolutely understanding content and the curriculum. We really want to make sure that they are doing the movements and that they understand the movements. So that when we put them out there, and once they leave the clinic, we hope that there's mentors. That's one thing that the associations that could be successful is to have a mentor in place that's going to watch these umpires throughout the course of the year. But really, we don't have direct contact with them anymore. And so we're hoping that they've learned enough that they can go out and be successful. And the only way we can kind of ensure that is if we see them. So our model right now is yes, they have to come to a clinic. So associations need to provide a learning space. Typically, we want a classroom. That's nice, but we've done certainly clinics without a classroom. It could be in a hall or something like that we can set chairs up and have a learning space. And then we need a place for what we call field drills or things that are like on-field simulations. And so that can be, again, just an open space in a hall. That could be a gym. Ideally, gyms are nice, but not all of them are big enough that we get our access to. Sometimes we've seen field houses. If you're lucky enough and the weather's great in the area that you are at the time, we certainly would love to use a diamond. That's the best. That's pretty much what's required. All the expenses for hosting a clinic are covered by Baseball Alberta. I think that's something that people don't quite understand. So if it costs you some bucks to rent out a facility, within reason, Baseball Alberta will reimburse that as part of just us trying to promote and encourage associations to host.
Awesome. Well, I know you guys are super active. So with that, can you tell me a little bit about your colleague Jeff Chipley and the Umpire Academy and podcast that's happening?
Yeah. Okay. So there's two things there that you touched on. So Umpire Academy, super successful this year, first time ever that we ran it out. We're 2/3 of the way now through it. We selected 8 to 9 umpires at the start of the year in May that were going to be a part of this Umpire Academy, and we asked them to commit to 2 out of 3 weekends that we were looking at, where we delivered high intensive training with some of the best supervisors and instructors that we have in the province. It was incredible the first weekend where we had umpires come in at all different levels of development, and they all came out 100% better umpires after it, and it was really successful. And so then this past weekend, actually, we ran the second installment of it at provincial championships, 2 different provincial championships. We split the group up. So they got a lot of work and some feedback on their game again. And then we're going to do it again at the end of August with some of our tournaments that are happening. Then we're going to get them back together and see where they've come from kind of the start of June to now the end of August, and in between, and have they used the skills that we've been teaching them to make their game better. So super successful program. Really excited to see where that goes next year. If people were a little hesitant about maybe applying for it this year, I would encourage anybody that fits into kind of our demographic that we were looking for, 16 to 25, level 2, level 3-ish umpire, wants to really be committed to umpiring, to certainly apply, because they became better umpires because of it. So cool program, really excited about it. I think it's really going to take off for us. Talked about our point of the plate with Jeff Chipley that runs that. Throughout the off season, we just wanted to engage our umpires similar to this lunch and learn session with some webinar type information. So we've picked different topics throughout the year to kind of talk about every 3 to 4 weeks, starting in February, March. We do a similar webinar to what you're doing here, Aaron, focusing on umpire topics. And so that could be game management, that could be mentorship, all different things that we've talked about. And I believe we've saved those videos to the Baseball Alberta site as well, so people can go back and look through those, that we call them point of the plates.
Excellent. Yeah, amazing work the whole crew is doing. Just one last question, and thank you for your time, Brandon. So what do you like about it? Why you stuck around? Why do you continue to give back? Why do you lead? Why are you a supervisor? Why are you still involved with it? What do you love being about being an umpire?
I think it goes back to there's the point of 12-year-old, 13-year-old, where I was certainly doing it for the money. On my off days from playing, and there's this point where that kind of transitioned into, okay, you know what, this is pretty good. It's become not just about the money; it's become about the experiences, seeing the game from a different side. And then it was all those opportunities that I saw were available to me, and realizing that my playing career was only going to take me so far. That maybe this was another path in the game that I am super passionate about. Have been since I can remember. The first time I ever had a glove and a ball to play with. And it's just another way to continue being a part of that game that I love so much. And I've just stuck with it. Like I said, the relationships that you build with fellow umpires, the opportunities that are available, and seeing this game from a different side as a player is really it's really nice. It's a rewarding experience. Even if we have to deal with some excited coaches and things like that at times, I think that it's worth it because you're still a part of the game. And without us as umpires, the game does not get played. And I think that's kind of a neat piece to remember for some of our umpires sometimes, that we play a really vital role in the game, and that shouldn't go forgotten.
Well, we're super lucky to have you in Alberta. Thanks for all your time you put in and all your hard work, and all your passion for that side of the game. And like you said, we're all in this together. So, if there's any questions from any of the attendees, please put it into the chat. If we don't have any questions, again, it's available for viewing on our YouTube channel and our podcast channel as well. Doesn't seem like there's any questions today, Brandon. I want you to thank you for your time, and special thanks to Liam Permont again in the Baseball Alberta office for doing the tech side of this. And have a great rest of your summer. See you at the ballpark.
Thanks, Aaron.